Please enjoy this uninterrupted conversation as part of our academic integrity series brought to you by Integrity for Education. Integrity for Education supports your institution by unlocking the full potential of digitalization through the right mix of software solutions, strategic consulting, and sustainable implementation of state-of-the-art technologies. Learn more at integrityforeducation.de. That's integrity, the number 4, education.de. Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience, and we are back on another episode of our academic integrity podcast series, which is sponsored by Integrity for Education. And speaking of live and direct from Germany, we have Thomas Fetch, who's the CEO. Tommy, how you doing today?
Hey, Elvin, I'm doing fine. Bob, nice meeting you, and I'm looking forward to today's exciting conversation about academic integrity.
Absolutely. And too bad people can't see you, because then they will see the awesome tie that you have, which is wooden, by the way. But that's a story for another time. But right now, let's get our guest in. He is Dr. Robert Wilson. He's the Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs at Cedar Crest College. Bob, how you doing today?
Elvin, I am doing well. Here we are, the EdUp podcast. I'm so delighted to be here. I mean, academic integrity. This has to be like the most important topic in all of higher education, don't you think? I know we're worried about so many things in higher education, but the integrity of our learning has got to be where everything begins and ends, right? It's the educational experience. So, Elvin, it is a pleasure to meet you. Tommy, it is such a delight to meet you too here on the podcast.
I love your energy. Episode over. That was awesome. Let's go. All right, Bob. This is gonna be fun. So, Bob, tell us about all everything that you do. How do you do it? What you do? Tell us the story.
Yeah, Elvin, so thanks for asking that. So I am casting in from Cedar Crest College in Allentown, Pennsylvania. We're located, just to put us all on the map, about equal distance north of Philadelphia and from New York City here in eastern Pennsylvania. Cedar Crest is a comprehensive college. We educate students from the bachelor degree up to the practitioner doctorate level, and we're a women's college. We're a longstanding member of the Women's College Coalition. That is for our straight out of high school, 18 to 22-year age set. We also have, that's about a third of our student population. We also educate students, adult learners, as part of our coeducational School of Adult and Graduate Education, and obviously graduate students in master's and doctoral degree programs. So Cedar Crest, we're a very practical minded, professionally oriented college. We have a lot of students in professional fields, from nursing to social work, from forensic science to the biological sciences, education, throughout. I've been here at Cedar Crest for over 2 decades, for 23 years.
Oh, wow.
Past 9 of those have been as provost and vice president for academic affairs.
Whoa, 23 years. Before I hand it over to Tommy, I got to ask a follow-up. That's a long time, dude.
That's a long shelf life, right?
Yeah. So I have to ask, what in the world keeps you going? I mean, it blows my mind even then. So what gets you going? What keeps you going?
Yeah, I love that question, Evan. Thank you for asking that. For me, the project of higher education is about building things. When I started at Cedar Crest, I started as an English faculty member. I was director of writing at the time. Pertinent to our topic about academic integrity, I had a really, kind of direct role in writing our academic integrity policy throughout. And so from there to building graduate programs, an MFA program in creative writing that I helped to co-found at the time, through now being in the provost office, to just try to figure out what it is in higher education that we need to be doing to meet what colleges and universities should be doing for our students today. So, I mean, that's my fire. I just love building things. There's no, what I have found, there is no other environment outside that I have quite found outside of higher education, where you can get just really committed people who are passionate, they're sharp, they want to solve the problems, they have viewpoints that are all across the map. And we say, how do we channel all of that energy and that expertise into what our students need to know, what the next program is, how we align with the local economy that we're in, wherever it may be. So, for me, my passion comes from building things in this wonderful community, doing it at Cedar Crest, where we are just a mission-focused we know what our values are, we know where we are going, has been the great gift of my career.
I'm going to start using it. That's my fire, buddy. I'm going to start. I love that. That was pure fire. That's good. All right, over to you, Tommy.
All right. So, hey, let me join the conversation. Bob, thank you for introducing Cedar Crest College to us. And so, a very blunt question. Since we are in academic integrity, do you see a lot of cheating?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, Tommy. And I think the answer to that is two-sided. We know that just broadly and across higher education, that students report cheating at a much higher level. I will say that what we see at Cedar Crest is very different, though. So we've seen, particularly over the last 5 or so years or so, as we've been tracking it, some upticks with regard to, particularly as we as a community have become sensitive to things like artificial intelligence, how we're picking it out. And so there are those peaks and troughs. So for me, it's not kind of just a direct, straightforward question of, do we see a lot of cheating and we see it? It's, what are we doing in the environment that we know what, when you do an academic assignment, what does integrity mean on that? We all know what straightforward cheating means. You're looking at a source that you weren't supposed to during an exam. You're using AI to complete a lab report. For a science class, we see those with kind of regular instances. For me, that really interesting point is, well, when should you be using something like AI to complete an assignment, and what is the boundary between what's acceptable work, how you channel your learning, right? I mean, that to me is the more telling question, rather than just the overall rates of what may or may not be cheating that our students are doing.
Oh, absolutely, I get that. So, and you already took the next question, but this is exactly this, right? How can you divide between the use, the ethical use of AI, and how can you just keep students from using it in situations they shouldn't use it, right? Using it unintentionally, for example, stuff like that. So I get that. So, but in general, do you see a difference in cheating behavior since AI entered the scene? So you reflected on AI a little bit, right? So there is an uptick, at least that's what I understood. Is there a huge difference, and would you consider that being the biggest threat to academic integrity at the moment?
Well, so for me, I see AI as a design issue in education, not necessarily a policing issue, right? As where we're gonna capture
Mhm.
students and catch them throughout. I'll share a little bit about Cedar Crest and what academic integrity means for us and the work that we do.
Yeah, please.
So as I mentioned, Cedar Crest we're founded as a women's college. We are a proud Women's College Coalition member for our straight out of high school students. What that means is, we begin with tradition. We begin with this tradition that women's colleges have called the open door ceremony. Elvin and Tommy, are you familiar with an open door ceremony? No, so let me just
Yep.
share what an open door ceremony is for women's colleges in the United States. So when we're founded, right, women do not have access to colleges and universities throughout much of the 19th century. And so we begin with this beautiful ceremony, this open door ceremony that's about opening the doors of your main administration building. And our students come out in this moment and they announce themselves to the world, right? So it's like move-in weekend when the students are coming here to college. I love the energy that is around that. Right. You've got families that have been building up to this moment for years on a college search. And it's 3 things are happening in that moment, right? For us. The first is the families are saying goodbye. So it's this really emotionally weighted moment where, like you've made it to the success of going off to college. You're joining a new community. And that's what the open door ceremony is about. It's like we take very seriously opening doors to education for student populations that don't have it. It informs everything that we do on academic integrity. So the first thing is that moment of, here you are in college. Second is Cedar Crest is known for global education. We prepare students for life in a global community. We announce what is the destination for our sophomore expedition. Sophomore expedition here at Cedar Crest is a guaranteed, at no cost to our students, no additional cost to our students, study abroad trip. Tommy, you'll be excited that we announced this more recently. Our next destination is going to be to Munich, right? So about a year and a half, we're taking our whole sophomore class to Munich. And so those are the first 2 things that end up happening at Open Door. The third thing, though, and this is part of this tradition that goes back for Cedar Crest history is our students will recite the honor code, right? So we're an honor code college. They're leaving their family, they're thinking about where they're going, and to be a member of the community, they have this recitation where they just say, I'm accepting honor of membership in this community of learners, and I'm pledging in self-governance, right, as being part of the student body to act with integrity from that point. So Tommy, you asked me, what have I seen change over the last 5 years? And here's something that has been dramatic for me. So typically, let me paint the scene. The students are coming out the door. We have this beautiful Vermont marble columns that they walk out, right? And it's typically our assistant dean of students who will then lead them in the honor code, right? And so it's like recite after me kind of thing. Since the last 4 years or so, something really remarkable has changed with our students. Instead of waiting to be led in this honor code pledge, where they're pledging, to act with integrity and to treat their learning as such, they don't wait to be told the lines. We give them the lines, of course, in a pamphlet, but they take over saying the honor code pledge themselves. So our dean of students can't even get a word in edgewise, where the students are just rushing forward to that. So I share that story because in this age of AI and academic integrity, there's a lot of skepticism. Oh, the students are going to take shortcuts. They're going to use that. That has not been our experience. Our students take the integrity of their learning very seriously. There's a lot of cautiousness that they present, like they don't want to do the wrong thing. Sometimes they haven't been taught how to use AI well. The rules are different from one class to the next. Right. But they take that experience very, very seriously. So I don't see it as this is a moment where we need better policing. We need better, ways to design assignments that are resistant to AI. I think we need to be better at engaging our students in what it means to learn with integrity, which is ultimately the goal that we all set out for ourselves.
Totally agree on that. And I love the fact you sent your team over to Munich. Maybe it's September, then there's Oktoberfest, just to give you a tip. No, but other than that, that sounds a little bit familiar because we have been in, I don't know, 40 discussions already. But I get that entirely. So if the motivation for learning is intrinsic, the risk of cheating goes down dramatically. So I think that what I hear from what you just said. However, do you still have some guardrails in place? So not talking about policy, maybe keeping people from unintentional cheating. So maybe this is a reasoning for guardrails sometimes.
Yeah. So Tommy, I think thinking about the guardrails, it really begins with literacy questions, right? So it's in terms of understanding what, in completing an academic assignment, what's permitted, what isn't permitted, what sources you should have access to. And that's just, a problem that is old as education itself, right? Like, what do you represent as something that you're repeating from a source that you found somewhere else, be it AI or be it kind of the old versions of cheating that existed before 2023. And what do you present as your independent knowledge, your independent learning? So doing that fundamentally in the classes that we teach, is just very critical from the first moment, right, from that honor code moment that I was just describing, up through the undergraduate research that our students do, up through everything that they do. So it's just it's just absolutely fundamental. I will say that an important part of what we do related to the honor code coming out is making sure that our students have a voice in what should or shouldn't count of that. We do that here at Cedar Crest through an academic integrity review board that has a student representative on it, right? So in terms of sharing, when we're looking at a case of what might be potential misconduct that, say, a faculty and instructor is looking at, is that there's a place for students to go, either in terms of appealing it for their own case, like I didn't quite understand what the assignment rules were, what the guardrails should be, and then doing that in conversation with a review board group that leads the way on those discussions for our campus.
All right. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So the information goes over technology to set guardrails, right? So I understand that. Would you, so that's a very, I know it's a specific question and you don't have to answer, but would you rather ban AI from learning and education if you could, in order to keep academic integrity in place as it has been?
I love that question, Tommy. That is so sharp. I love it. That's a question you have to answer, right? Should we ban AI, right? And that is, like in some of the loudest voices in any conversation. So here at Cedar Crest, we have what we call the prickly pear AI group and the teddy bear AI group, right? So it's AI, it's the prickly pear. I don't want my students, my learning anywhere near that, right? Those needles are going to stick me. Just keep away from it. On the other side, we've got the teddy bears, right? Like this thing is so revolutionary. We're going to have students in a generation doing doctoral degree work at the undergraduate level for what students are doing today, right? And the reality is it can't be either of those. We know there's got to be caution, right? That is involved in the AI world, right? We can't just go grab the prickly pear that it is. And at the same time, we have to embrace this. It is going to be a part of our students' careers and working lives. It's going to be part of our learning. It should be helping us throughout higher education and everything that we're learning for what education means. I'll just share a quick story on that point. Like, should we ban AI? In the spring of 2024, so it was just after ChatGPT came on and we were all having these discussions, I took to our board of trustees an introduction to AI. Our trustees talk about a particular biology professor through generations of here at Cedar Crest, where she would assign these essays that when I asked them, well, what is the most challenging academic assignment you have? They all go back to Professor Marion Cahard at Cedar Crest, who would ask these biology questions that were so open-ended, the students just struggled with them. And I shared with our trustees, I said, let's just ask ChatGPT. What would ChatGPT would do with this? And, like as we all know now, in less than 5 seconds, it cranks out a perfectly acceptable, on its face answer to as an essay to that, right? From within that space. And so the first response was shock, right? To be like, wow, like what are we doing with this? But we can't live in a world where that doesn't exist. We can't just say we're going to shut that off and pretend like our students don't have access to it. That we as a learning community can't be using that to be better at teaching, to be better at learning, to be better at research in all of our fields.
Yeah, good story. Thank you for sharing that. So I believe there is a difference in using AI for learning. So that I truly believe, and using AI in assessing knowledge, right? So I think that's the problematic to figure out, right? So in assessment, the question is, what would you do, or what would you recommend doing for assessment? Since I think the academic integrity challenge is more visible in the assessment, or in the assessment of knowledge, right? I think in learning, we agree totally. I 100% agree. It's a great learning tool. You can make AI ask you questions. You can create, flashcards from it within a second. You can, really structure the learning content, the curricula, the way you want it, and really specific to your individual learning methodology or type you are. That's all understood. But in assessing knowledge, what would you recommend doing when it comes to AI?
So if you want to, so Tommy, I don't take your question to mean like, how do we assess the learning of our students through the programs, like our program outcomes, if that's what you mean by it. If you want to see like an immediate opinion change among faculty and staff talking about AI, have them enter a conversation about where can AI help us in terms of understanding assessment and our program learning, like where that is out. AI, as we know, has all the risks, all kind of the ethical concerns that are behind that. But it can be a very powerful tool just in terms of picking up patterns, whether it's things like grade distributions, whether it's things like student answers to questions, that will help you with understanding your curriculum, right, in ways that working alone without that as a tool just really gets to, I suppose, the integrity of the design of what we're teaching.
Good point. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So you would utilize AI to restructure the assignment, as I get it, right? So, but have you ever thought about raising the bar or the level? So the expectation, say it like this, since we now have this turbo boost named AI, everyone has it, like students have it as well, right? So, and they will use it. So if you allow them theoretically, like utilize it in assessment or while assessing knowledge, do you think it would be a great idea to just raise the bar?
So that's interesting comment, and I don't know that I've adequately thought enough about raising the bar. So here at Cedar Crest, we focus on that opening doors ceremony, right? Like, what is the base level sort of levels of equity that we need to, and we know that some of our students have access and have been taught how to use AI. A lot of them haven't, right? So for me, it's not necessarily, and I do think there is long-term potential to be thinking about where does a given academic field go? What do we expect from students using AI, say a generation from now? I think the question of the moment is, how do we use AI to build academic integrity as a ground setting, right? So for the students that are coming in, for the equity that they're coming in, I'll share a cool example of that, where I think here at Cedar Crest, we've been doing some work. So the head of our math department has been doing some really good work recently around designing his own LLM model that takes an educational stance on student questions, right? So from the math world, math positions this is that we've been dealing with calculators forever, right? When we want to understand how do students get from a pre-calc class to Calc 4, calculators have just been something that they as a field have been doing along the way. So one of the things that we're doing in terms of thinking about raising, I would say, the bar at each level of student learning across that with AI is to design tools such as this AI LLM, which is called Alchemy, that will teach and model for students where a professor wants you to be in a particular lesson. So the issue with something like any of the popular AI models that are out there right now is the students will say, I've got this assignment, I need help with it, and it'll just give you the answer, right? That is the popular LLMs that are out there will just kind of go straight to the answer, not being irrespective of where that student is at in her learning curve, right? Like if you're an introductory student where you need to be, where the potential for AI comes in, and this is really the integrity side of it, is in saying, you know what, so you're struggling with this like introductory level question. Here are the things that you need to be thinking about that you've already learned in your class. This is the next step to be able to move forward, right? And that is right, that level of learning, rather than let's leap ahead to what a senior level answer maybe, or a graduate student answer maybe in terms of the toolkit. That's really where I think the potential for AI and learning in terms of raising not just the top bar, right, but for students at across all levels where they can be helped out in their learning process.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, again, what I say. So I think in learning, we totally agree. We just don't want to avoid those shortcuts, right? So I think this is where we have common sense on. Another question would be: are you utilizing AI for your day-to-day work?
Yes, every single day I use Chat GPT or my favorite model on that. We have we do a work called the AI Ready Project. We're doing that with the Council of Independent Colleges. We've got a lot of the mantra that we have, kind of everything, is that there is some problem, some aspect of a problem that we are working on that artificial intelligence can be helping us in the work that we do as a college. So every single day, almost on an hourly basis. So I am not, to come back to your original question, the ban AI, prickly pear side. I'm much more on the teddy bear spectrum.
I get that. Or stick with the New York style. It would be bull or beer, right? So to go back to the Wall Street. So you're more bullish about it. I get it. So very nice. Good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Alvin, I think back to you. Ask all my questions.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Simon. All right. So, Bob, before I ask you the last question, I may have a few before I ask you the last question. I'm just curious, because you've been there 23 years, and you've seen the evolution of thing. And I love that story about the ceremony, how they're, jumping in on reciting the code. But what have you seen over the last 23 years? But specifically, I don't know if you have a lot of contact with parents. I'm just curious to know if you do have contact with parents, or you hear stories of staff or faculty that are working with parents. What are the parents uh, asking, And what do they want to know about academic integrity? Is that even a part of the conversation? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I will say that families invest so much time, energy, and money in college that the questions that they ask, if I wouldn't say that we directly get questions. I've never gotten a question directly about what is your academic integrity process. What I do hear is how is the learning that my students are going to be doing at Cedar Crest going to relate to their career fields, right? That in every question is some variation of that, right? And when it comes up with artificial intelligence, as it relates to this, it's what are you going to be doing to make sure my students learning to prepare them for those areas? So those questions are always centered around um, like is my the student who's going to be coming to college is are they going to be prepared for the world that they're entering? And that's really what they're asking about with academic integrity, right? It's not, can I get the shortcut to the degree? It's, what are you doing to prepare my student? That is the clothing that covers the question about what does integrity look like in learning at a college.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So let's get down to the last question. And you've been in higher ed a long time. You've seen a lot, you've heard a lot, obviously you read a lot. What do you see as the future of higher education? And feel free to add the academic integrity component to it if you want to.
Well, I think it's an exciting time for higher education. I mean, we know following, any part of the sector for higher education, just what a ground change we are undergoing, right? So whether it's we're living the demographic cliff, AI that we've been talking about with academic integrity, I think the future of higher education is where institutions, where we are going to distinguish ourselves is going to be coming back to this relevancy question, right? Is what do students do not while they are here at college, but what they do in the workforce? What is the next step? Like, how are we preparing them for successful lives? And so that, to me, no matter how um, colleges and universities are changing, wherever we're at as part of the sector, that has got to be the question, right? So we have students for a given point of time, but ironically, that's not the most important thing. It's what they do past for us.
Gotcha. Well, Bob, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for your time. First, let me outro my co-host. He is Thomas Fetch. He's the CEO at Integrity for Education. Tommy, thank you as always.
Thank you, Elvin. Thank you, Bob, for this very nice conversation tonight. I learned again a lot, and I'm very happy to have learned more about your view at Cedar Crest, Bob. So, pretty nice.
Yes, thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, he's your guest today. He is Dr. Robert Wilson, aka Bob, Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs at Cedar Crest College. Bob, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, Elvin, Tommy, it was a real joy getting the chance to talk together.
Awesome. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp. Thanks for listening to this uninterrupted conversation as part of our Academic Integrity series brought to you by Integrity for Education. Integrity for Education supports your institution by unlocking the full potential of digitalization through the right mix of software solutions, strategic consulting, and sustainable implementation of state-of-the-art technologies. Learn more at integrityforeducation.de. That's integrity, the number 4, education.de.